What's going on, friends? It is a Tuesday night, jam-packed evening of professional wrestling, be you a fan of NWA, AEW, NXT, lots of stuff to pick and choose to enjoy from. But of course, you're tuning into the Love Wrestling double feature, a double feature of reactions of the night in pro wrestling. We're, of course, as always, kicking off with Powerrrout. And right now, we're just enjoying our little pre-show gimmick. We're just chit-chatting while NXT wraps up a little bit of its overrun, which I'm sure it's enjoying right now. I'm joined today. It's not only a return guest, but this is the first time I'm welcoming someone back 2 weeks in a row. Josiah McDonald, how you doing, friend?
I am doing all right, Zach. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. I didn't catch Power live, but again, I was enthusiastic when I got a DM from you on Twitter saying, like, dude, this episode, and you weren't wrong. That was a good watch this evening.
It was very fun. We'll leave that as a teaser for when the show NXT ends and we can actually get into it. But yeah, it was a very fun show.
Do you have eyes on it, or do I need to be keeping an eye on Twitter right now?
I do not have eyes on it. I have not watched NXT in like 3 years. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I've watched a few takeovers since then, but that's about it.
That's fair. Okay, let me just keep an eye out on Twitter. If nothing happens, we'll give it like a good 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll pop on and we'll get chatting NWA.
Excellent.
Yeah. Of course, you and I talk at length about NWA whenever you join me here on Power, but like, what else are you enjoying wrestling wise?
So obviously, I've talked about it before. I watch AEW a lot. I love their product. I've been meaning to add Dark and Dark Elevation to my viewing, but I haven't really done it. I just kind of stick with the weekly TV with Rampage and Dynamite. And cool. I've been following New Japan quite a bit, and I'm just starting to dip my toes into Stardom. And because Wrestle Universe was offering 3 months for free, if you pay for 1 month, if you pay for January 2022, you get October, November, and December free. And so I signed up for that, and that will include Pro Wrestling Noah, DDT, Tokyo Joshi Pro, and a few others.
So that's a great deal.
Yeah. It's like $10 Canadian, something like that, $10-11 Canadian, and you get 3 months of wrestling from various promotions. So, and I've been starting to dip my toes into Stardom. I'm subscribed to Stardom World, but I haven't really done too much with that. I want to watch the 5-star Grand Prix, though.
Right on. I see a couple people are starting to roll in and joining us. Just reminding you, this is, of course, the double feature of Love Wrestling reactions here on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. This is going to Josiah and I are going to be kicking off our reaction to NWA Powerrr this evening, and shortly thereafter, we're spilling the tea with NXT will begin. We're going to have Astrid, Ed, and Cody reacting to tonight's NXT broadcast. I used to say that it's the other black and gold wrestling wrestling brand, because that's one thing it shared with NWA, but that's no longer true. But small details.
It's the rainbow color brand now.
Yeah. Kind of like this high pigment vibe is in right now, be it in NXT, be it in AEW.
Neon paint everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like the 80s have come back.
Yeah, I'm on board with that.
Same here. I was very young in the 80s. I was born in 85, so I don't really remember much of it. But
likewise, 86 myself.
But there are pictures of me wearing neon clothes in like 87 when I was like a kid. So
you'd fit right in NXT 2.0.
That's true.
Excellent. Yeah, so we're about 30 seconds before we kick off Powerrrout, which is, of course, the first part of our Love Wrestling double feature. We're going to be discussing NWA Powerrr shortly thereafter, of course, NXT. So with that, I think we're going to sign off this little pre-show gimmick, and the music's going to start. And after that music, you're going to see myself and Josiah gracing your screens, and we'll be with you in a moment, friends.
ladies and gentlemen, power is over. But that does not mean for one instant of a second that the fun is over. Without a doubt, you are here because the power is out. So stick around, because it's Power Out. Yeah, it's Power Out.
It is Tuesday night. It's a night full of jam-packed full of professional wrestling. If you're a fan of NWA, AEW, WWE, NXT, you got stuff to choose from, and you're joining us here tonight for the Love Wrestling double feature of reactions. We're of course kicking off with Power Out, which is the live NWA reaction, and shortly thereafter, we're going to be heading into NXT with Astrid, Cody, and Ed. So thank you very much for joining us this evening, and of course, thank you to my guest who is joining me. This, Josiah is a return guest, but this is the first time that we're having someone on 2 weeks in a row. So Josiah McDonald, thanks for being part of the show.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. How's everything going tonight, Zach?
So far, so good. So far, so good. I didn't catch NWA live, but I got a direct message from you over on Twitter saying like the show was amazing, and I was looking forward to it, and it did not disappoint. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, a very exciting episode. As soon as I saw it, I was like, I gotta talk to Zach.
I like that NWA has become part of our rapport. Yeah.
Same.
Our YouTube comments are starting off strong because this one popped me while the music was playing. This is, of course, from our very own, the Wordsmith. It's a late night double feature wrestling picture show. You tried, and in my eyes, you succeeded. It is October. It is Rocky Horror Month, and I will always pop for a Rocky Horror reference. And I know that Wordsmith, you're the guy to drop them. Thank you very much, friend. Before we continue, of course, I have to thank the good people at RK Athletics who make a lot of what we do here at Love Wrestling possible. If you got fitness goals, then RK Athletics is the people you want to be reaching out to right now, because they will help you start chasing them today. They will walk you through safe, effective technique. They've got online resources. RK Athletics. Check them out. Great people doing great things and help us continue to do great things in our own right, I like to think. We got a strong episode of NWA to react to. Let's unless there's further business, I will leave the floor to you. Do you have shall we jump in?
Let's dive right in.
Excellent. Also, it wouldn't be Power Out if my cat was not invading my workspace. So if my camera falls over, I do apologize in advance because my cat won't. Will your cat be joining us after last week's invasion?
He is sitting right on the chair behind me here.
Okay.
I'm in the living room. My roommate has a chair that he usually sits in over there, and whenever my roommate vacates it to go to bed, the cat soon takes it over and claims it as his own. So he's sitting there quietly right now. I think he's going to take a nap.
Okay, perfect. So we've got cats at rest. We've got one cat, on the attack, on the prowl. Hopefully we can get through an episode of Power Out with minimal interruption. But anyway, NWA Powerrr, we're kicking off. We've got a bit of a change up at the announce table as Tim Storm will be involved in the main event in the evening. We've got Joe Galley, we've got Velvet Sky, and this time we've got Austin Idol. And I'll admit, I'm a big Austin Idol fan. I'll say that first and foremost, but I was worried because Austin Idol's got a big personality. I was worried of how he was going to be sitting at the commentary booth. Top of the show, you see Austin Idol at the table. What are you thinking?
Well, I remember he did commentary once in the early, when they came back in the pandemic, and I think it was just him and Joe Galley for that one episode.
Okay.
I think. And it was actually pretty good. It was because Galley is the kind of guy that can kind of rein him in a little bit.
Sure.
Because he's very, very, very much so one of those guys who's kind of dominating the scene with his voice. But I throughout the episode, I found his bickering with Velvet to be a bit annoying, and it's just not for me. But I found when they actually focused on calling the match, it was fine.
Yeah, that was my worry too, because her and Velvet, Austin Idol and Velvet, they're button heads, and they're not discreet about it either. Before we continue, your rival, I should have mentioned this at the top of the show, Josiah was our victor this past Thursday on Quizplex. He became the champion of champions, winning our championship edition. And your rival, Ed, from Love Wrestling, offers his congratulations to the champion of champions.
Thank you very much, Ed. I greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you in a championship match again someday.
Oh yes, we've got champions of champions of champions to get through before the end of the year, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more crossing paths. Ed, while you're here, I forgot to tweet about this little live stream that I'm doing right here. So if you could perhaps maybe nudge Spencer and see if he can take care of that for me, because again, shame on me. Very sorry to take care of the social media business here live on air, but I'd be remiss if we weren't sharing that Josiah McDonald WR_Central on Twitter was not joining us this evening. But with that, we're going to move on the card, because we've moved past the introduction of the commentary team. We have Kyle Davis with Camille. Camille weighs on Strictly Business's conflict with Nick Aldis, kind of being akin to a sibling rivalry, and it's going to boil over just like all brotherly squabbles do. When Davis asks about Camille attacking Melina, Camille says it was because Melina was running her mouth on commentary. Camille says when they face off, she's going to break Melina's brittle bones. Really strong promo showing from Camille, I thought here. Hers... I find that her personality is really starting to flourish, and she's getting a lot more comfortable on the mic.
Getting her in front of an audience has been very good for her, because she can play off their reactions, and that is clearly paying off for her. She's still, for a person who has not been wrestling very long compared to some other folks, she's adapting very well. She's probably a little bit longer than, say, someone like Jade Cargill in the AEW, but I would see a similar level of potential and talent there. They both have lots of personality if they can actually get comfortable showing it. Yeah. She's not the best promo in the world, but she doesn't have to be, as long as she can just be herself. Yeah. And that will come across better. And I think she's finally getting there with that. I did notice that they did announce the main event around this point, and it kind of surprised me that they were doing it already. But it was Tim Storm and Nick Aldis against Strictly Business, against Latimer and Adonis, and that's where Camille's promo was like, it's just brothers having a fight. They'll be okay. They just need to get it out of their system, kind of thing. Yeah, and I thought, okay, that's interesting. Was not expecting that. And I like what you said about Melina. She's the kind of heel that will bury the babyface a little bit. She maybe did that a little too much.
Big time, yeah.
because if you bury the person you're facing too much, you beat a nobody. And if you can insult them and all that kind of stuff without going that far, but that will come with experience for her.
Yeah.
Like the guys who are like a master at that, you'll listen to, like Don Callis in AEW. He'll be putting over all the accomplishments of Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, and then he'll say, but he didn't beat Kenny Omega. That's how it's
stuff like that. Absolutely. Yeah. I definitely maybe had a little exception to some of her content, but I think I was just more pleasantly surprised with her, like having like the personality and really flourishing with it. Like her line about Melina referring to herself as a legend just because she's old, and also using the term legend maybe a little loosely, being coy and playing with the audience that way. A lot of good vocal color. Yeah, a lot of good vocal color from Camille there. She exits the podium, exits stage right, and Trevor Murdoch comes in. Trevor Murdoch reminds Jax Dane what he had to do to become the NWA champion, and he doesn't plan on letting go anytime soon. He calls Dane, in less polite words, he calls him a coward for trying to cash in on a vulnerable champion. If he wants to fight for the belt, he better do it the right way and come face him like a man. Pope comes out. He offers a hug to Murdoch. They exchange pleasantries. Davis asked Pope what his championship aspirations are. And Pope says, I'm going to clarify my intention next week on Power. I'm going to talk about my championship opportunity that I earned in the championship series. And, Pope will tell you next week. What'd you think here?
Well, you can tell we're both Canadian because in my recap, I said he called him a coward because we were both very polite about it. Murdoch was not as polite, but nope. He did call him a coward, and I thought Murdoch's promo was awesome. Very fiery babyface promo, really good stuff. And I like Pope coming out saying, he promised Trevor he wasn't going to be like Jack Stain and try to cash in. If he was going to go for the title, he's going to tell him face to face. And we're going to find out who he's challenging next week. So that's interesting.
That is very interesting. I'm looking forward to what Pope is up to, because Pope is always an entertaining guy to watch, and seeing him, move up the card perhaps in NWA. I'd have time for that, and I would very much look forward to it. Next coming up, actually, before we move on to the first match of the evening, Gally kind of nudges Velvet Sky on the shoulder. She also won the championship series, and she's asking Velvet if, she might be challenging for the NWA Women's Championship at some point. Velvet, she's coy. She says, wait and see. Say it happens. Do you want to see that match?
No.
Hey,
I'll be honest. I'll be
fair
honest. I'm not a fan of Velvet Sky in the ring. I think she's a good promo, and I think she can be. She's not bad on commentary now. She was really bad at the start, but
she's very strong. I think.
Yeah, it still needs to work on like emoting and stuff like that a bit better on her commentary, but she is better than she was. So she is improving, and I think Joe Galli's probably helping her a lot with that. And she's getting good at identifying little story elements in the matches that explaining what the motivations are of people. And so that's one of the strong points that she's been able to develop. I actually think she could be really, really good backstage interviewer if they were to do that. I think she could be really good at that, especially poking at just pressing the right buttons on the heels to tell the story to get them to flip out and drawing the answers out of the baby faces. I think she could do that. But
fair.
She wasn't bad. I don't want to see her in the ring though.
Okay.
But if they do it, you know what? Maybe it'll be fine.
Just no anticipation for it.
Yeah, exactly. And they have that relationship with Ring of Honor. Maybe they'll bring over Angelina Love and they'll team up to challenge the tag titles.
Okay, I'd have time for that. That's a good story. I see people trickling in and checking us out right now. Just reminding you, this is of course the Love Wrestling double feature. Once Josiah and I have reacted to tonight's NWA program, you're going to be joined immediately by Ed, Cody, and Astrid reacting to tonight's NXT 2.0. Wordsmith popping in the comments. Pope moving up the card. Well, here comes the Pope. Everyone has time for the Pope. First match of the evening is the Lucha Scramble. Very interesting rules on this. This is a triple threat tag team match with elimination of individuals, not the whole team. When one person gets eliminated, it's not the whole team, just the one guy on the team. We got Yuma and Rush Freeman taking on Marche Rocket and Slice Boogie taking on La Rebellion. Very fast and furious matchup. There's a nice time for Yuma to shine at the beginning until he's eliminated by the nasty muscle buster I'd rather not see again by Bestia. We get a bit of fire. Oh, dude. Yeah. I got some notes about that, but I don't, anyway, a bit of fire from Slice Boogie. He eliminates Bestia, followed by Boogie's own elimination. And we're down to the final, a lot happens here. I got notes. We essentially boiled down to the final two. We got Marche Rocket and Mecha Wolf. Really nice back and forth. There's a couple moments where we think Marche might actually pick up the win, but it ends up being Mecha Wolf who hits a 450 to finish it off. Really fun match here. Really fun.
This was a great match.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, we're in for a good show because they started the show hot. And every time they've had La Rebellion out there, they have stolen the show. In except for maybe one exception. But when they're wrestling, they are very good. Hello, Ticket.
Ticket sighting. He's going
so yeah, I think they're really good. This was not a kind of a standard match you'd see in the NWA. This was very much so an all-out spot fest, start to finish. Even the big guys like Marche Rocket getting in on it, and everyone had a chance to shine. Captain Yuma had the least chance to shine, but he had the early portion of the match, and then he just got straight up killed. And I admit, I giggled seeing it. I was like, get this jobber, even though he's not a jobber, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I get you.
I love a good squash, and Bestia squashed him very well. He killed him with a knee, and then he hit that weird muscle buster on him.
That made me really uncomfortable. I got to admit, I know you chuckled, and I certainly don't. I'm not going to criticize anyone for their own respective reactions, but again, Samoa Joe has a relatively safe muscle buster. This is like about 100 times more dangerous because Bestia lands in like the kneeling position. And again, he's a pro. I have no doubts that he does this move very safe, and that the discomfort is like my own issue that I probably have to get over. But man, I squirmed. I didn't like it.
Knowing what I know, I think that's actually probably far safer than the one Joe does, because there's no like impact on the mat from the head. You just kind of hit there and then roll backwards. But with that said, it could be compressing quite a bit when you're holding the legs like that. So, regardless, he was eliminated in violent fashion.
Violence.
And just like the color of the lights in my room, he may have been seeing red afterwards. Because the theme of tonight is violence, and that's why I have the red lights on. And there was lots of it on the show, but this was a really good match. So if you watch one match on the show, I would recommend this one.
Very good shot there.
Yeah, it was a really fun match.
Shout out to Video Bros Network joining us over on YouTube. Hey everyone, just joined in a little late to the party, but glad I could catch the show still. Hey, always welcoming latecomers here on Powerrrout. If you want to catch the beginning, this will of course be available on demand on YouTube, obviously, and also this is going to be available on Love Wrestling's Podbean. So if you want to catch our early thoughts on the show, that's going to be those are the avenues in which to do so. Once again, that was a fantastic match, top to bottom. I really liked the fire that Marche Rocket got to show. Like, he got really close to picking up the win, and that would have been a really nice moment. But you want your champs to look strong, and I really enjoyed what I saw in that.
Slice Boogie also had he did a slingshot over the top.
That German suplex?
I think it was, into a German suplex. He was in the corner, and I think it was Mecha Wolf, but it could have been Bestia. But he slingshots into the ring while the guy's facing the turnbuckle. Yeah, lands behind the guy and transitions smoothly into a German suplex. It was beautiful. It was
a work of art. Work of art. Yeah, absolutely. We move to more tag team development because we got Aaron Stevens at Kratos at the podium with Kyle Davis. Kratos clarifies his most recent remarks to Stevens that he believes in brotherhood, but he needs Stevens to just tap into that killer inside because they're losing and it's Stevens' fault. Stevens owns their loss to the tag titles. He doesn't make any excuses for himself. Kratos says Stevens hasn't been accepted by wrestlers. He hasn't been accepted by his own father, and that he needs to find peace in that chaos, that the NWA is a circus and Stevens needs to come sit at the lion's table. These promos from Kratos have been fire.
They're so good. They're so good.
Before Zach, it's me, Bobby. I knew that. I read the name and I was like, that's Bobby, but I ended up saying Video Bros Network. Bobby, thank you very much for joining us this evening. If you caught NWA, feel free to pop in if you have some thoughts that you'd like to share about later up the card. Back to the promo at hand for Kratos. Holy crap, was that good?
Really great stuff. And it felt real. It felt like this is a guy who really wants to make this tag team with Stevens work. He understands that Stevens is a guy who's wrestled all over the world. I mean, when he was with WWE and TNA, although he wrestled more all over the world with WWE.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy who's been everywhere, and he's been doing this for a long time, from the indies in the early 2000s. And I loved how Kratos was like, you need to accept what you are, and find peace in that, and then turn up the violence. And I was like, okay, I could get into that like, this is, I hope this really, and I think it's going to, because they're both very good baby faces, result in them being a dominant tag team. And I really can't wait for the first squash match when they figure it out and they just destroy someone. It's going to be so glorious.
It's going to be really interesting to see Stevens tap into that other side, because like his best work is when he's doing character work. And in regards to character work, we're only familiar with like this kind of wacky, the Shooter Stevens character, the Damien Mizdow, stuff like that is when he really shines. I'm very interested to see a killer instinct Aaron Stevens, and I think he's got the chops to do it.
And he's a good worker, so he can pull it off.
Absolutely. 100% with you on that one. We got to move on to this next match. And unfortunately, it's not the one I have a lot of kind words for. We're talking about Jedias with James Mitchell taking on James Storm. No time limit. There must be a winner. Physical from the get-go, but Jedias, he just has a lack of presence, and like this really hinders everything about this match. Storm's doing his best, man. James Storm is really doing his best to make this.
He's trying so hard.
So hard. He's trying to make this like engaging, but Jedias, like, he's a vacuum. Like it's unfortunate to say, it's just not working. Finish comes. Storm counters Jedias trying to hit the Razor's Edge, takes out Jedias with the super kick, and 1, 2, 3. There's a bit of a face-to-face showdown, suggesting that this match isn't over. James Storm leaves for the bar. Man, Storm is getting wasted. I don't know how long his tenure here in NWA is going to last, but they really should be putting time with him, like, with JTG, with Slice Boogie, with Colby Carino, but instead they bring in Jedias, who's just, man, I don't get it. It's a weird choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do we articulate beyond that? Like what does this
like? It's like I said last week. Jedias sucks. He's not any good. I'm willing to give most things a chance. Especially because the Sinister Minister is there, and I trust his ability with promos and stuff like that. But it's like, come on. And he was using just the most basic of like 1980s heel WWF offense, which is the worst of the worst wrestling. Just horrible wrestling. Yeah. And for those who don't know, the top, like that kind of superstar squash match heat wrestling from the 80s sucked. It was horrible. And that's what he was doing here, just raking the eyes and big lumbering offense. It's just, no. And
he's just he's a big guy, but he's not physically imposing enough to really like do this in an engaging way, No,
and well, I mean, James Storm is pretty much the same size as him, and he's 10 times as fast. and that should tell you exactly everything you need to know. Like he's not big enough to be a big man wrestler, but he's not quick enough to be what James Storm is. And James Storm was fantastic in this. He bumped like crazy. He sold like crazy. He did everything he could to try to make this guy look like a monster. And after the match, he stands up, no selling the super kick after getting pinned. To silence.
To silence. No one. The crowd goes mild.
The crowd popped for Storms. That's the best I can say about that match.
Exactly. Yeah. Again, Storm just wasted in this position here at NWA right now. I'd like to see him work with more capable hands and younger talent, but that is what it is. Before we go to a quick break, Bobby just wants to put a little evil in the world, suggesting Jedias versus Tyrus. Book it already. And I'm just gonna let everyone stew in that comment. But we're gonna take a very short break. I have a little preview. That's the appropriate reaction. Yeah, so I got a quick little preview to share with you. On Smart and Friends this Thursday, I'm going to be speaking with pro wrestler and graphic novelist Bob Animal Anger. He recently saw the movie, or not recently, but this year he saw the movie Psycho Gorman, horror comedy, which is picking up momentum is in that like cult following kind of vibe. And he's going to be doing a comic magazine further exploring the world of Psycho Gorman. So I got a little clip from that chat. So here you go. Now, you said you gave the filmmakers the pitch deck, and they're very receptive to it. Yeah. Now that they've like kind of like put their vision of like this character into your hands, has there been kind of like has it been easy to work with them?
Yeah, they're the easiest.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, like Steven, Peter, and I, when we get on the phone and we start actually talking about creating stuff, it's really good. Yeah. It's really good. And my story is the biggest one in the comic. It's 13 pages, and like Steven basically came up with a concept for all the stories in the book. So the idea that it's all the Galactic Council, and then he wrote like a paragraph on each character with an idea for the writer. Because like in the movie, you don't really have any backstory for the Galactic Council, right? No. So he was like, I need to do something so that everyone understands a little bit and has an idea where to go. So a lot of like the concept for the comic is his concept, which is super dope. And then the story that we did together, we were on the phone for like, I don't know, 2-3 hours. Just like nailing out a story for the one I was going to draw. And the concept he came up with was hilarious. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to ruin the story. But like the concept he came up with was like absolutely hilarious. And I kind of like understood that he has this like kind of amazing sense of humor where it's always sort of like a pulling the rug out sort of scenario, or looking at like everything from a different sort of like character. Like if I was to do... when I do comedy and I do Mother Trucker, like in my head, I'm thinking Zap Brannigan. You know what I mean? Like from Futurama.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm thinking Zap Brannigan. So like that, the big hero is the funny one, but he's always thinking about like, what is the perspective of that guy in the room over there? Like, what's his deal on this like person? So his sense of humor is like unreal. But when we were on the phone together working, or even in the meetings talking about getting this thing going, the creative part comes out. And a lot of ways, what he's doing with Psycho Gorman and the Void and that kind of stuff is a lot like what we're doing at Lethal Comics. It's like his own thing. It's like, this is mine, my own thing, my own vision. And it's like true art. Sure. So it's, working with those guys, it felt like everyone was on the same page immediately.
Always great talking to Bob Anger. I've had him on the show several times. This is the first time we were able to sit down face to face, or face to mask, as it were. And yeah, it was a great chat. Join us on Twitch, 1 p.m. Eastern, for the premiere of that interview. And a couple days later, it'll also be available on YouTube, and all the while available on Podbean. So please check that out, especially if you're a Psycho Gorman fan. And if you're not, please check out that film. But that's another podcast. We got another match. We got a great match coming up after that Slogfest, but Jedias's charisma vacuum extravaganza wasn't great, but this one was. Lady Frost versus Kylie Rae, as it was announced, becomes a triple threat match with Allison Kay after Allison Kay confronts Lady Frost for costing her a match against Genocide a few weeks back. The match is pretty good. Allison Kay goes straight for Lady Frost, but Kylie just keeps blindsiding her and getting in the way because she just wants to have a really good wrestling match. What happens? We got Kylie Rae locking Allison Kay in the charity case. Allison Kay powers out. She drops a big Samoan drop. Lady Frost thinks she's going to get the advantage, but once again, Kylie Rae just, she's wily. She gets advantage, and she locks Lady Frost in the charity case, securing the win with a tap out. They've kind of teased Kylie Rae perhaps being a heel, like here and there. That was less apparent in this match, but I had this like wave, like if she wanted to be like a really enthusiastic babyface to the point where it gets like she's intrusive and getting in the way of like actual rivalries, I think that could be an interesting route for her, for a heel Kylie Rae.
Yes, I think that could be a good way to go for it. I don't think it's a good idea necessarily, because I think she's a much better babyface. Like she's a natural babyface. But if you were to go that way, that's probably the way to do it. I thought that was a really good match. I liked the promo leading up to it. I liked everything everyone did in this match. Allison Kay, Lady Frost, and Kylie Rae. Kylie Rae, she is so good. She's so good. She's one of those wrestlers you watch and it's like everyone is better for having worked with her.
Yeah.
Everyone looks better working with her as well. It's one of those people where she may not do anything super complicated or anything like that, but it's just the way that she's always in the right place at the right time. She always sells the right way to make someone. She's kind of like the Bret Hart in that way. I hate to use that kind of comparison.
No, I see what you're saying.
But she's the kind of worker. Her and Serena Deeb are a lot alike, actually.
Oh,
in that
okay.
regard.
I like that.
They're both very the way they structure their matches and the way they work. They're always looking to make the other person look as good as possible. And they did that great here. And Kylie Rae, neither one of those lost anything losing to Kylie Rae here because of how the match was structured. Everyone got a chance to shine. Everyone got a chance to look good. She was just in the right place at the right time, and she got it. Yeah.
I really liked how this match was structured. Absolutely. I thought everyone had very clear motivations and intentions. And, they're obviously all pursuing the win, but with different, side quests, if you will. I loved Lady Frost sitting on the top rope, just observing the battle while Kylie Rae's getting in Allison Kay's way. Really good stuff, top to bottom here.
And I like the story too. They underestimated Kylie Rae. She was like an afterthought, and she's the one who won it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Got to agree with Ed here. Lady Frost is a star in the making. There's I haven't seen a lot of her outside of NWA, but I've heard nothing but great things. And you give Lady Frost time to shine in NWA. I think that investment in time is going to pay dividends. Cody's popping in. Bret Hart shout out on Love Wrestling. Spencer is somewhere smiling. Ed, I'm not bringing anything that's glamorizing HBK while pushing down Bret Hart. No, we will not be highlighting your comment. But yeah, great match. We move on to an interview at the podium between semi-finalists in the tag team title tournament, Hawks Irie and the Big Strong Pals, Mims and Sal. Not a lot happens here because it gets interrupted, and I don't really want to elaborate, and I don't want to spoil anything, much like NWA spoiled the result of this match
of the tag
last
tournament.
Week. Yeah,
that was one of the things I wanted to touch on because
let's do so with language that doesn't spoil the tournament. But again, La Rebellion, they cut a promo last week where they cut a promo on both finalist teams, so we know the result of this semifinal match.
Yes, it was so weird because it was like last week I was so confused about what part of the tournament we were watching, and I didn't really specify exactly what anything was in my recap, and my editor emailed me. He's like, "Well, what round was it?" And I was like, "I don't know." And which I probably should have just included in my recap, let's say it that way, which I did this week because I had no idea what was going on. And I'll read to you what I wrote because it works.
It's okay if you didn't know what was going on. I don't think NWA continuity did either.
No. I said Davis was trying to interview the last two teams in the tag team tournament, though I'm not sure they're the last two, as they've called the matches last week the quarterfinals and semifinals both times in the show. They also had La Rebellion cut a promo on the winners last week before the tournament even ended. It's not to mention we've never seen brackets, so I have no idea what's going on with this tournament. That's how I put it.
A lot of confusion up in the air. Of course, we have the Big Strong Pals. We have Hawks Irie. We've got the end, and we've got Kratos and Stevens all still involved in this tournament. And if you were paying attention last week, you know who the finalist teams are, which is a little bit disappointing having it spoiled. I would love to have words with someone in NWA continuity, but that is what it is. But, either way, this confrontation between semifinalists is short-lived because the TV champion and his entourage interfere. They come storming in. Tyrus is, talking about how everyone's calling his championship reign into question and how they're padding up his win so he can take advantage of Lucky 7. And this is where my notes, I wrote, yeesh, because Tyrus starts going full Fox News here. He starts, saying like questioning his booze, thinking he was in a red state, accuses everyone of watching CNN and wanting to rescue dolphins. It was frigging jarring is what it was.
It was so bad. And like if he just focused on cutting a promo on his competition, it would have been fine.
Yeah,
it would have been fine. And I don't like Tyrus. I've made that very clear on the show. I've made it very clear in my recaps. He made it like the point of the promo ended up being that Jordan Clearwater, who is in his entourage, is going to be his next challenger, and we all know what's going to happen in that match. Clearwater's going to lay down for him.
Yeah,
and then we're probably going to have some babyface come in and spoil him getting to his lucky 7, which that's fine. That's fine booking, even though Tyrus will stink up the ring. He's not a very good worker, but going full Republican is a choice. Like I don't whatever politics. I don't want to talk about politics on like on a wrestling show. Like just give me wrestling.
Yeah,
and that's not what that was. And it I mean, the guy. We could rant forever. We talked about it before we were on air, even.
Yeah,
it's just how frustrating this was. But it was bad. It was really, really bad.
It was very bad. Like you said, if he was just cutting a promo on his competition and like calling into question how he's just padding up his wins, I would have had to begrudgingly say, "Hey, that's a passable promo, Tyrus. Well done." But yeah, when he started going full Fox News anchor, I was like, "Come on, man."
It was so out of place too. It was just
so
out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's not what the character has been so far. And maybe they're just trying to add this, mistaking this new angle for substance, but that is what it is. But
part of me thinks he just did it.
Yeah,
just because he's going to do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that caught a few people backstage off guard. But we have a pretty good main event to wash the taste of that Tyrus promo out of our mouths. We got Tim Storm, very unlikely team of Tim Storm and Nick Aldis taking on Strictly Business. At the beginning, we got Aldis and Latimer in the ring, and of course, they're the best friends of the Strictly Business group. It's a very spirited competition. They're shaking hands. They're just trying to one up each other. It's fun, it's fun, but competitive. But you know what I mean. Aldis tags in Tim Storm, and then suddenly Strictly Business starts getting very aggressive and really taking it to Tim Storm, getting very physical. Storm is able to get the hot tag to Aldis. He comes in, he takes out Latimer. Latimer looks for a victory roll, but Aldis just counters it by stacking up Tom's shoulders for the 3 count. Good match, but the story here is the post-match, because afterwards, Aldis tries, Latimer sitting in the corner. He's very, very shaken. He's disappointed in the loss. Aldis shakes his hand. They hug. Tim Storm comes in. He shakes Latimer's hand. They hug. And then Adonis comes in. Big low blow to Tim Storm first. And that's followed by a low blow to Aldis by Latimer. So like the Strictly Business has fallen apart. We get 2 pile drivers to Aldis. Third one happening on a chair. Nick Aldis is taken out on a stretcher alongside with Mickey James at his side. Very good angle to close the show. Very good. Heavy
heat angle. But it's kind of one of those hot angles that you need, and it adds a much needed change to Aldis' character as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm interested to see what babyface Aldis will do. And I was almost thinking they were going to do the Horseman beatdown on Storm. There was a part of me that was thinking that. And I was like, there's a part of me that wants that too, because it's so old school to do it that way, to have the trusting babyface get destroyed by the Horseman. But another reason why my lights are red tonight in the background, red, the color of betrayal. And I like this angle a lot. Latimer destroyed Storm and Aldis with chair shots. They were hard chair shots to the back.
Yeah, he did not pull those swings.
No. But I mean, if you're gonna do it, you might as well make it count. And it was still safe. It wasn't dangerous.
No, of course.
It just hurt.
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
Hurt to look at.
Yes. I groaned at the pain on Tim Storm's face after that one to his back. But that was a great angle, and it introduces a much needed change to the main event scene. I have some predictions about where this might go. I think it would be very wise to get Adonis and Latimer into that tag team title picture after this tournament is over, with Loud Rebellion as baby faces, not heels.
Oh, okay,
because
I like that.
Because they're way too cool to be heels at this point.
I think the wordsmith might pop in and agree with that statement.
I mean, the way they wrestle, their matches are so exciting. I don't see why you'd want to have them as heels anyways. And they could have some really good matches with Latimer and Adonis. Adonis, he's not Chris Masters. He's not the same guy who left WWE years ago. He's actually, well, since he shrunk down in size for various reasons, and he's a decent worker. He's a very decent worker, and Latimer is a decent worker. And working with guys like La Rebellion would be really fun. And yeah, I thought it was a really well executed segment. A little bit quicker than I expected because they only started hinting at this kind of tension over the last 2 weeks. Like Adonis with Melina was still lingering in my head. What was that about?
Yeah, that got dropped, huh?
I don't think they're ever going back to that. But but they've had this kind of tension of what's Nick Aldis going to do, what's the rest of Strictly Business going to do. That has been there for a while. But him teaming with Tim Storm, I almost feel like they should have given that another 2 or 3 weeks. Just have the tension there between the two groups, and then Aldis say, let's just have a match.
Yeah,
let's do it the right way. Which is what he said last week, which is why they had the match this week. Let's do it the right way. And he wanted to just have a nice competitive match between guys to see who's better. Mm-hmm. I totally get the story they're going for there, but you could have had that play out on camera a little bit more. But that said, excellent angle.
Yeah.
Excellent angle. Made me very excited. I like you could feel the emotion in the crowd when he pile drove out Aldis on the chair. It's so old school.
Yeah.
They had that crowd in the palm of their hands, all however many were there. And it was great. That's how you do it. And it got great heat for Strictly Business. It's going to make Aldis an even bigger babyface when he eventually comes back, because he's going to be gone for a while. I hope at least a month. And good stuff.
Yeah. I do hope that he does take the necessary time off to sell these pile drivers, because past couple of weeks, Nick Aldis has said he's going to take some time off, and he keeps showing up the next week, which is fine because we got this really hot angle out of it, and I hope that's exactly what happens. And Bobby weighing in pretty much in accord with us. Latimer and Adonis looked incredible in the segment. This was so brilliantly done, and that was possibly the strongest angle NWA have pulled in recent weeks. And Wordsmith is on board with a babyface La Rebellion. Dude, so that was a very strong episode of NWA Powerrr. I am very excited. It's good to feel excited about NWA, because there's a lot of the time it's a little bit, I support them because I do like that style of wrestling. But this is the first time in a while I was excited. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sold on, I like so many different styles of wrestling, I can't even keep track of it all. But I still love that old school vibe that the NWA has. And I love the modern stuff with AEW, even though they use old school booking. But I love all that kind of stuff. I love New Japan. I love Lucha. I love Joshi, all that kind of stuff. Good wrestling. I like that. And this was good wrestling.
Very, very good wrestling. Couldn't agree more. Josiah, once again, thank you so much for joining me on Powerrrout. Before we actually let everyone go and let Ed and Astrid take over for spilling the tea on NXT, this is not the first time you'll hear about this tonight, but we're only 9 days away from Love Wrestling, X-Force Pro Wrestling, Change the Game out in Edmonton. Again, next Friday happening at the Rec Room in Edmonton. It's got a great card, man. It's got Nicole Matthews, the Voros Twins. We've got our own Chris Parrish on the card. You're going to want to check this out if you're in the Edmonton area. But if you're not...
I see Casey Spinelli there as well, too.
Casey Spinelli, absolutely. But if you can't be in Edmonton, that's okay. You can watch tonight on tonight. You can watch right here on Twitch, twitch.tv. Everyone is able to chat, but only everyone is able to watch, but only subscribers are able to interact with us on the chat. So be a part of that night, Friday night next week. It's going to be a great show that the team has put together. So check that out. Josiah, before we let you go, please let the audience know where to follow you on social media.
At WR Central at Twitter. And you can also read my stuff at WrestlingObserver.com, where I recap NWA every week, and DailyDDT.com, where I recap AEW, Dynamite, and Rampage every week.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, friend. You can follow me on social media at SmarkMouth, on Twitter at smark.mouth, on Instagram. And of course, you can follow the Smark and Friends podcast on Twitter as well. Thanks for joining us for Powerrrout. NXT happens right after this little extra package. So we'll see you later.
Sorry about that. We'll try that one again. Hello, and welcome to NXT. No, we're not Powerrrout. Hold on. I didn't get all the branding. Where's the right branding? NXT. That's the branding I wanted. There we go. Without Cody here, everything's already fallen off the rails. This is craziness. All right. This was a fun episode of NXT. Let's start there. This episode was just pure fun all night long. It was the first night I felt like the crowd was an old NXT crowd. Astrid, do you agree with that first and foremost?
Yeah, I feel like they were really energetic. They weren't really quiet tonight, which I really liked, except for the What Chance, but that's a different story for later on. But aside from that, they were like really, really active tonight.
Yeah, it was really interesting to have them in there. Yeah, as Wordsmith says, we're live, pal. Yes. I definitely pulled a Sid there. At least I didn't ask to restart the show. We got our friend Ecto Guy in here. It's time to Braun Breaker out the tea. We'll be talking about him a little bit later because he had a big role in this show. And we've got our friend Cody saying, yay, friends. Cody, we miss you, but we'll see you next week because we got a big show next week coming up. But first, I wanted to start with, we're losing some friends. NXT is losing some friends. We all knew it would happen. And in the draft, we lost some friends. We are going to no longer be able to sing after next week. We're no longer going to be able to sing about Hit Row. Or as I have to do for one of the last 2 weeks, Hit Row. As Hit Row was one of 5 acts called up. So we've lost Hit Row to SmackDown. We lost Ridge Holland to SmackDown. We lost Xia Li to SmackDown, which I thought was interesting. We potentially lost Aaliyah to SmackDown. She's been off NXT TV so long, I don't know if it's considered a call-up. But Aaliyah's no longer on NXT. We also lost Austin Theory of the Way to Raw, and Drake Maverick is officially now back on the main roster on Raw as well. I'm excited for a lot of these. There's a lot of really fun, interesting talent that got called up. I am so sad to see Hit Row go. I am so worried about Hit Row being gone. But beyond that, there is so much young talent being brought up. And we already seen Austin Theory. They have an idea. They have a story. As Cody says, he sings it too. Hit Row. But Astrid, what do you think about the NXT call-ups? Were they more than you expected? Less than you expected? Anybody on this list surprising you?
I think Xia Li kind of surprised me, but I think she's one of those, like, I think with Dakota, they've been having dark matches lately, so I was expecting her, Dakota, to be called up. More than anything, I'm surprised they didn't bring up anybody like LA Knight and Pete Dunne to the mix. Yeah. Surprisingly, I was expecting their names to be at least in the supplemental draft, but nothing. So that surprised me because I'm like, with the way it's been going with Knight for the past 2 weeks, I thought he would get called up at least this week, but I guess not. So that's surprising. But Austin, Austin's another one that he had been having some kind of dark matches, so I kind of figure he will get called up sooner or later. Mm-hmm. I think Rich probably was the biggest surprise for me, especially with a Pete in there. I was expecting them, even though we're separate draft picks, I was expecting both of them to get called up, not just one of them.
Yeah, I would agree. And Cody brings up a good point. Somebody skipping NXT altogether and not getting the call up. We got Gable Steveson. I'm not going to screw it up like Byron Saxton kept doing last night. It's Gable Steveson. He's a problematic wrestler, to say the least. He's got some baggage, but then again, in this day and age right now, there's a lot of them with that. It's tough. That being said, I'm excited to see what this guy does on television. I'm ready to do the WWE thing of I'm going to forget whom he is in real life and try to focus as much I can on what he's going to do in the ring. But I am excited to see what Gable Steveson does. Obviously you know who he is. Did you watch any of his Olympic matches?
No, I only saw like the stuff on Twitter when it was happening, but I didn't know anything of him beforehand, just when he started popping up on Twitter because of it. And then obviously when he got signed. So I'm waiting to see one of those like things. I'm going to wait and see what happens. I'm not going to say anything yet. I'm just waiting to see what happens. But other than that, I really don't know much about him, to be honest.
Yeah. And so while we're here, we're going to go ahead and thank our sponsors. I know Zach did it earlier in his show, but I'm going to do it again. We want to thank Rich King and all the people at RK Athletics. Go follow them on all their social medias at RK Athletics 1. They do all kinds of personal training and personal training accessories in the Edmonton area. They do virtual personal training if you need it anywhere else. Go ahead and follow these guys. They're a great follow. I learn a lot on their Twitter. Every now and then they give me workout ideas. I'm like, that would be a good workout idea if I wanted to do it. That being said, we adopted a new format for NXT last week, and I really enjoyed it. I think you did too. So Astrid, spotlight something for me that you want to spill the tea about this week on NXT.
I think for me, my favorite thing tonight was the Toxic Attraction promo, I would say, or segment with Raquel and the way they surrounded the ring with her. I just didn't like how the crowd kind of ruined it with the watch chants to Mandy, but I guess that came with like the way she was talking. But I like how each one of the girls got their moment to talk, and they all talked in their different ways, but they kept my attention the whole time they were talking, and I really like that. But yeah, just the crowd, the part that ruined it for me in that segment. But aside from that, I really liked it, and having Io and Zoe come in and like help Raquel at the end, because one of those people like they don't have chemistry, but it's something that was unexpected.
I was being the NXT crowd there and just flashing the watch chant all the time. Sorry, I apologize. Continue.
No, that was it. I'm just like,
I'm sorry, I had to do it. You were saying it, and he put it there, and I just had to do it. I'm sorry, I'm a mean person. No, I wholeheartedly agree. I liked Mandy's promo, like the words of Mandy's promo, in her like. Yes, the what chance ruined it. I agree. The fans really took a dump on that promo, and it really sucks that they did, because I really think Mandy's getting better at cutting promos. as Cody said in our Slack chat, and again, we're going to go back to the community Slack chat because that's where 99% of all of our ideas for the show inevitably get said before we get to here. Cody had a very interesting point where he talked about how Mandy left too many pauses in her promo, which led to spots where people could insert a what chant. Just like that. She's getting it. She's getting her point across. But like Cody says, there are too many gaps in it. That being said, she's still cutting better promos. She's getting better in ring. And her group feels so connected right now. It is the most connected thing on this show. Like, because I don't consider the promos from Legado del Fantasma and I don't consider the Hit Row promos as connected to the show because they were kind of just, we're building for next week. And so we're going to insert these here. But on this show, that felt so connected when they were doing it. While we're talking about Toxic Attraction, we're going to go ahead and hit the top of the show, where Mandy Rose faced Ember Moon to open the show. And that was a really fun match. I was expecting a lot more of it, and I was shocked when Ember went for the Eclipse. Mandy ran through it, basically just kept running to the rope, so she jumped off and, caught herself and didn't do the Eclipse. And then Mandy hit her with a move, and that was the end of the match. And I'm like, cool, okay, not what I expected. I'll take it. I feel bad for Ember Moon. I really do. She deserves better. She really does. That being said, NXT has gone full, we're pushing Mandy Rose. They've made it clear that this is a new NXT and we're in a new direction and this is where we're going. And it started from the moment Toxic Attraction came to the ring. Now, I know you said you didn't get to watch the very beginning of the show. Toxic Attraction was shot from the floor up during their entrance. And it really is an interesting angle when you're taking someone who looks like Mandy Rose, and I'm trying to be very careful because I think Parrish is watching and I know how he's going to get with this. That being said, it's a very interesting angle as you come up Mandy Rose's, and you saw her attire because what she wore in the promo segment is what she wrestled in earlier in the night. It's an interesting camera angle that I'm not quite sure they should do again. Because if we had too many comments of NXT was going very risque last week with the promo packages for the show, this definitely kept going in that same direction. No. Anyways, moving on. As Astrid turns 16 shades of red. Even with pauses, if a performer continues as if nothing happened, I think it works better even with pauses. I agree. Because her shutdown of that crowd during those what chants for the first portion, she literally shut them up for a good 45 seconds while they all rebooted like a computer. When she called them out, and in her words, say what one more time if I'm not the most beautiful woman in this building. And the entire crowd literally turned off. And it wasn't like the crowd was a manual crowd. Like, it was legitimate. Like, she got them and they didn't know what to do. Poor Ember Moon. What were your thoughts looking back on the match? I know you said you got to take a look at it.
Yeah, I found a clip on the NXT on USA YouTube channel, which I didn't know was a thing. Yeah. And then I was going to ask you because I'm like, obviously I didn't watch it at the beginning, but that clip was 4 minutes and 51 seconds. And I'm like, there's no way this match was that short with Ember Moon in this match. And that was without the entrances. So I know it could have been a little bit longer, but I'm like, to be honest, have an Ember match that is less than 5 minutes. That is very surprising. But like you said, this is the way to push Mandy, and Ember being one of the people that has a lot of experience in NXT is the way to highlight Mandy at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they've done a really good job in 2.0 of making sure that we know that it's about new people and new opportunities. And this show continued to do that with everything seemingly a veteran versus, some kind of a newcomer in some way, shape, or form, and pretty much everything. Cody's right on the mark here with saying every match on NXT is hovering around that 5-minute mark. He's not wrong. Most of these matches seem to be hitting about that same spot. There are some very interesting, and again, they focus on the women some more throughout the night, and we'll get there as we go. But I wanted to focus on, and what I wanted to take into this. I'm sorry. At the end of the promo with Raquel Gonzalez, we did have a little bit more interaction as Mandy and her crew went down to the ring to attack Raquel one more time, and out came me and your least favorite people, Io Shirai and Zoe Stark. Our least favorite people as a team, because that's what they were.
Yes.
They ran them off. They went back in the backstage area. We had Raquel Gonzalez telling them that I don't need you to help back me up. I'm fine on my own. Where Raquel says, "Why?" And then Io says, "Why? So they can beat you up again?" And then Indy Hartwell and her friend Persia, I forget her last name, Persia Poirier, I think it is, or something like that.
Yeah.
Comes up and says that Toxic Attraction isn't the only people that are coming out for their tag team titles. And Io has an absolutely fantastic line with, "Didn't we beat you for these titles?" And Persia comes out and says, "Yeah, but now we've got fresh blood." And it'll be interesting to see what happens here. I'm all for anybody winning these titles. Again, I don't care if it's a rock and a broom, as long as Io Shirai and Zoe Stark are no longer. And here we go, Cody helping us out here. Persia Perota. Thank you, Cody. You're our most valuable team member, even when you're not here with us and you're on location doing things. But I wanted to focus on the tag team title match because it got about 25 minutes, which I thought was surprising, considering they were doing a promo with like 30 minutes left in the show. And I'm like, this isn't good. But they had a lot of time. Trick Mello versus Grizzled Young Veterans versus MSK versus JBBJ. It was a fun, again, the story of this night. It was a fun thing. It was a fun match. I liked the idea of the elimination one. It made it a lot easier to figure out how things were going to go. Everybody got their steps in. Everybody got their spots in. First team eliminated was Trick Mello, which, as Cody gets points on for having called them that last week. So Trick Mello was the first eliminated. It was great because Trick got a lot of time to shine in this match. Where he... Cage Match has the tag team match at 12 minutes and 33 seconds. Really?
Wow.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry, Cody just messaged us in the Slack chat. I happen to have it up next to me. And I'm like, wait, what? That being said, Trick got a lot of really decent shine to show off what he can do without being made to look green. I like that. And then Mello is protected because Mello gets drawn out of the match completely. Parrish jumping in with what is often the truth. Cage matches, full of it. So thank you, Parrish. I agree. There's no way that match was 12:33. I like how they protected Carmelo Hayes in this match. It really feels like they're in on him. He mentioned twice in this show, I get this tag team title match and I still have my golden ticket. So that was nice. The next team eliminated was a bit of a surprise, but it shouldn't have been. Grizzled Young Veterans were eliminated by JBBJ, which is fun. Cody, if I read something and it doesn't make sense, it comes out of my mouth, which often gets me in trouble. That being said, I appreciate the information. Grizzled Young Veterans get eliminated next in a fun little match with JBBJ, hopefully setting up something between those two teams, which I'd be all in for. Seeing JBBJ and Grizzled Young Veterans in their own little feud while we get to MSK and whatever they're going to do next, and we'll talk about that as we get through this match. Leaving MSK and JBBJ. And of course, Jensen and Briggs do not get the win. They end up taking the loss. And it's great. And they were about to hand the titles to MSK and be the whole respectful baby faces. Hey, we fought, but we're going to be okay. And then everybody gets jumped by Imperium. And yay, thank God for Imperium. I wasn't expecting the crowd to be thankful to see Imperium. MSK has a problem here, and we'll talk more about that either on Saturday or later on tonight. But MSK definitely has a problem here where their fans aren't connecting with them. As much as their moves are great and their matches are fun, they're not connecting with them, and they were happy to see them get their ass beat by Imperium tonight. What did you think of this match as a whole?
I like how everybody had their like little moment to shine. I don't know which one of JBBJ it was, but when they took out West and they told him go flip, and he goes what? He's like go flip over. He flipped over. I just like that part was really fun. But yeah, just like that's why I questioned it at the end in the chat, and I said either say thank you Imperium, because I'm just like I hear the thank you, but I'm not sure if I hear Imperium at the end. But yeah, that was so surprising. It just I don't understand, or I don't get why the crowd doesn't like MSK, but I'm like I like them and they've been fun for me so far. So I just wonder why's the disconnect between MSK and the crowd itself. So I don't know.
Parrish has an idea. MSK comes up. It's not entirely untrue. You know. Their humor's not for everybody. Their way of being isn't for everybody. The Rascals were very, you either love them or hate them kind of tag team in Impact. So I can see that coming over here with the boys. But I'm still excited to see them in the ring every time they're out here. They're not the most entertaining crew for me either. I'm not hugely invested in them. But I did love this match, and I loved how it was booked perfectly. You continued booking MSK versus GYV by not having the two teams pin each other. By having Jensen and Briggs do it, you get that little leeway so you can do that and then still come back to MSK versus GYV. You protect Mello because you need to protect this man at all costs because he could be the next world champion, in my mind. Parrish throwing out an idea. Is MSK NXT Young Bucks? They could be. They could be. The thing is, though, the fans, while they're booing them now because they're heels, the fans love the Young Bucks. You don't see indie crowds booing the Young Bucks because they're the Young Bucks. And I think that's the difference between the Bucks and MSK. Their own fan base likes them. Everybody else kind of hates them. In MSK's case, it's everybody else seems kind of cool with them. Their own fan base in their matches hate them. Other things you wanted to point out, we had the debut of Tony D'Angelo, which was very, very fun. He had an interesting night tonight. He faced, as I have it written here from Cody, unknown number 5,839-4256. Yes, we had Malik Blade, who got entrance music and a name, which is very nice for a guy who ended up getting squashed by Tony D'Angelo. I liked D'Angelo's moveset. It's cool. It's interesting. Really fun off the top. As soon as he gets done doing his whole in-ring thing as the match is getting ready to start, what does the mobster guy do? He tries to bribe the referee. A+ on at least continuing the gimmick into his wrestling style. It was a long squash. I agree. But I'm okay with long squashes because I wanted to see what he could do. I didn't want to see Tony do 6 moves and win the match. So him having a 4-minute squash isn't necessarily a bad thing because he's not a monster. Like, he's not going to have 17 of these. He's going to have 1 or 2 and he's going to get into something. And he might already be into something, and we're going to get into that because I'm really excited about that. We have Cody also saying apparently 443. Sounds about right. That one sounds closer to reality. What did you think of Tony D'Angelo in the ring?
I really liked it. I feel like I was interested. I want to see more from him just to see how his moveset goes. That's the I'm the most interested in. Just like what I said, I was just kind of surprised it was like a long squash. I was not expecting it to last that long, but I'm like, it was interesting. I want to see what else he does next time. I did like his part with Lash backstage, and she goes, "Oh, so proud." No, like I like him in the movie or whatever.
So what Astrid is referring to is backstage later on in the show, we get a Lash Legend segment where she's talking to a bunch of no-names at NXT, and she's talking about the success of her segment and how she takes credit for breaking Facebook and Instagram. Good job, NXT, using cultural references. I like it. 1 thumbs up for that one. But they did it in a way that made sense. Like Lash Legend being like, yeah, everybody was watching my segment so much it broke Facebook. That at least makes a little bit of sense. I'm cool with that. That being said, Tony D'Angelo walks in and he's like, hey, I know it'll be great for your show if you talk about me. And he walks away. And she kind of gives him the, I'll think about it. Sure, whatever. And he walks away. And as Astrid says, she goes, I liked him in that new Sopranos movie that was out. And Cody pops in the chat going, Ed, you finally got your Sopranos reference. It was fine. It was great. I'm more and more interested by this guy the more I see him. More importantly, his in-ring work was fantastic. He looks like he's an interesting character. Cody brings up, it was longer than LA Knight, Cora Jade, Joe Gacy, and Indy. There's no way this is longer than the Joe Gacy match, and there's definitely no way it's longer than the LA Knight match. Really? Me and Cadence are going to have some issues tonight. So we're going to go ahead and kind of go through the show as a whole now. We've gone over... Oh, I'm sorry. No, there's one more thing I want to bring up before we get to the whole show as a whole. Tommaso Ciampa, otherwise known as Daddy, comes to the ring to cut a promo. And in cutting this promo, he gives us the most important news, and that's Soprano, I used to be a tenor. Oh, all our friends are in the chat, and it's making me go crazy. That being said, Daddy comes to the ring, and he tells us that he's got to defend he's ready to defend his NXT championship. And in 3 weeks, on October 26th, we are getting the return of Halloween Havoc. So happy it's back again. October 26th, the perfect time, the week before Halloween. It's a Tuesday night normal NXT special, so it'll be great. They said takeover a lot in this episode. I don't know if you caught it. There's going to be more takeovers. They kept saying takeover. So I do have a... Yeah, shut up, Parrish. Daddy Ciampa is a thing. It's what he calls himself. It's what he is. Get it over it. Yes, Daddy Ciampa. Any man that looks that crazy, that's trained in this neck of the woods and spent as much time in this area that can beat me up as he can, yes, I will call him that if he wants me to. That being said, he comes out and he says he wants to see if anybody has the balls to come out and challenge him. Of course, the man he already talked about earlier in this promo segment comes out, and we get Spencer's love child, Braun Breaker. Spencer is going to be very, very happy that Braun Breaker comes out and Ciampa accepts the challenge of Braun Breaker. And in 3 weeks, we're going to get Braun Breaker versus Tommaso Ciampa for the NXT Championship, main eventing at NXT's Halloween Havoc. However, that's not potentially the final card for that match. And I'm very excited to see what could come from that. First of all, Halloween Havoc, yay or nay?
Yes, I'm so excited that when they brought it in, I was like, yes, I'm so glad this is back.
Yeah. And then what do you think about Braun Breaker and Tommaso Ciampa? Are you excited for that match?
Yeah, I'm like, I would have loved it in a takeover, but I'm like, Halloween Havoc is a good special for me, so I wouldn't mind it in Halloween Havoc. So we'll see how that goes. If it's a one-on-one or a three-way, either way, I'm interested in watching this.
Yeah. And we're going to continue from there because we're talking about that. We get Joe Gacy talking about how he's part of the most inclusive generation, and this really started. This is great because it irks me and makes me excited at the same time. He continues doing this promo where he talks about this generation of millennials being inclusive and accepting, and all of these things, and how the ring is a safe space, and how there can be two winners. And I'm like, I want to punch him in the face, which is exactly what he wants. So he's doing exactly what he needs to do. So it's working perfectly. More importantly, the gimmick's not dropped, and I'm excited because we all were worried after that first show when the critics didn't like it that it was getting dropped. We then later have Jiro Ikemen versus Joe Gacy. And as I have written here in my notes, Jiro wearing his Spencer Love jacket. That jacket, I swear, every time I see it, it doesn't look like Jiro. It looks like Spencer and a whole bunch of Spencers. And we need to get Spencer a jacket just like it. In yellow with all of Iko German's face on it so Spencer can just walk around pretending it's him. It's not a long match, and Jiro gets the win. Jiro gets the loss after Gacy hits what I don't know what he calls this move, but it's basically a lethal injection turned into a clothesline. It's impressive for a guy his size. It didn't take a whole lot of time, and he wins. And he goes ahead and picks up Jiro Ikemen and gives him a hug. And Jiro seems like he's in a trance afterwards, which is great. And then Gacy continues walking out, and he looks up in the crowd, and there's one guy staring down at him. And as we all had in our notes, an unknown number 4,455. But we later find out it's Parker Boudreaux. It's Mini Brock. Hair shaved, doesn't look like himself. Very excited to see it. Continuing with this segment, and then we'll get into Astrid's thoughts on it. I'm sorry. Ciampa has a promo backstage about Halloween Havoc and Braun Breaker. He's interrupted by Gacy, who gets a great promo saying, hey, Braun Breaker got out there before I could. But you know what? If you want to be really inclusive, you'll give me a shot at that title too. And Ciampa says, fine. We'll have a match next week. If you win, you're in. And so as Cody puts it in the chat, Ciampa versus Breaker versus Gacy will be real fun. I don't think we're getting the triple threat. I really don't. I think it's a one-on-one match coming up. But the fact that Ciampa's working immediately with Joe Gacy and Braun Breaker is an incredible thing. What did you think of the promo segment, Halloween Havoc, and then Joe Gacy versus Jiro Ikemen?
I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm like, I'm waiting to see more from him because I'm still like, okay. But I do like the way he delivers his promo, especially with Ciampa there. And like you said, it made me think, oh, Ciampa's already working with two like young guys coming to NXT, so that's really exciting for me. Just thinking of like he's helping the new kids in here. But yeah, it made me wonder. I'm like, I wonder if we're gonna get that 3 or not, because are you gonna have such a young new guy beat Ciampa like that next week? I don't think that would happen. That's the part that I'm like doubtful about. But who knows if somebody, maybe Parker comes in and helps Joe, because that's another thing. When he came up, I knew his face looked familiar, and I'm like thinking, who the heck is this guy? I know I've seen him before. And then when the show ends and I'm getting ready, I open Twitter and I see the picture just pop up like that. Oh, this is Parker. I'm like, no, this has to be a joke. And I click on his name and I see that he retweets the image and the video, and I'm like, oh, it is him. So that's interesting. So I was like, it's interesting how I guess they wanted him to look differently from Brock, as they didn't want probably people to connect them in that way, and that's why they did that. So it's pretty interesting to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited either way. We're getting Parker Boudreaux on TV. The kid's a beast-looking dude, and this guy looking like Vampiro with the way they lighted him and the way they make him up. He looks a lot like a Vampiro, kind of like pure white face with like black hair and black boots and trunk. It looked great. Very, very excited. Getting back to the beginning of the show, we had the promo for the Fatal 4-Way that starts the show. We had Mandy Rose defeat Ember Moon. We had Legado del Fantasma calling out Hit Row, talking about how they're scared and they're running away from Legado del Fantasma. I love LDF taking this stance. I love the idea that they're saying that Hit Row went to SmackDown because they're scared. That was great. Santos Escobar basically ends this promo by saying, Swerve, are you going to be man enough to defend that title against me? We later on get the confirmation from Hit Row. That match will be taking place next week. So that's going to be great. Do you think Swerve is going to be leaving with the NXT North American Championship next week?
I really hope he doesn't, just because of like I said, I guess the feud going on, the rivalry, even though it's been good, don't get me wrong, it distracted me from the fact that Swerve hasn't defended that title. So
Isn't
I'm
it
like,
right? Yeah, isn't it great?
It made me realize, I'm like, wait, when was the last time this title was on the line?
The night Swerve won it.
Yeah. And I'm like, and the feud has totally distracted me from the fact that he hasn't defended it at all, because I've seen him so often that it makes me feel like something has happened, and it hasn't. But yeah, I really want Santos to win it, because maybe we'll get something with him and somebody else defending it, and maybe the title will be active, because it hasn't been. So
yeah, so we get that great one. Then we get LA Knight versus Odyssey Jones, another fun little match. Not a huge long match, but it was a great match. It was fun. Andre Chase comes out to distract Odyssey Jones. He does. LA Knight hits a backwards cutter type move and gets the pin for the win, because as Odyssey Jones put his foot under the rope to break the count so he wouldn't have lost, so he didn't kick out, Andre Chase then pushes it before the referee can see it, so the referee doesn't see the foot under the rope, so Odyssey loses. I love it because it protects Odyssey Jones, because he doesn't kick out because he knows his foot's under the rope, but Andre Chase gets in there just quick enough to push it out so that Odyssey doesn't have time to... It's just fantastic booking. It's smart booking because it keeps Odyssey looking strong, but it gives LA Knight a win finally.
Yeah.
Because this guy's been losing a lot.
Mhm.
What do you think of this match?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing where I was like, there's no way Knight's gonna lose again. That's what I kept thinking the whole time. I was like, what are they gonna do so Knight doesn't lose again? And then I'm like, I saw and Chase and I'm like, yep, there's the answer. What's he gonna do now? So yeah, I was expecting it. Just I'm like, Knight has lost too many times already, and I was hoping they wouldn't continue with that. But I'm glad they didn't.
And more importantly, it continues telling a small story between Andre Chase and Odyssey Jones. And again, smart booking by NXT, and I will continue to say that because for most of the night, it's been one of these things where it's NXT booked this show very smartly. Nobody in this entire show, with the exception of one person, looks bad, and that one person is headed for a huge major turn, I think, and we'll get to her later on in the night. We then have a promo segment with Cameron Grimes, where he talks about love is in the air at NXT. You had the Index wedding. You have Cora Jade and Trey Baxter making out backstage. And now Cameron Grimes wants to find himself a Mrs. Grimes. And then he's interrupted by Pete Dunne and Ridge. And for the first time I ever found myself saying, oh, I'm really unhappy to see Pete Dunne and Ridge on my TV screen. Because I just wanted to find out who he was looking into to try to figure out who's going to be the next Mrs. Grimes. Because now that's my new favorite thing on this show, is who's going to be the Mrs. Grimes to Mr. Grimes. Ridge and Pete Dunne basically badmouth him, and then Dunne challenges Cameron Grimes to a match later tonight. It's fun. It's great. Cameron Grimes is money. Is there anything else you can say?
I'm just saying it. I didn't realize I missed him until I saw him on TV. But I noticed that he talked to two other ladies, but one of them, like the one on the right, seemed kind of familiar, but I couldn't pinpoint who she was. And that's the one I'm like, she stood out to me out of the two of them. But I'm just like, I wonder who Mrs. Grimes is going to be next.
One looks like a wrestler. One looks like somebody who's just
like
happened to be backstage.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Oh, Cody has an idea? Grimes in Persia. Maybe. Maybe. There's all kinds of fun stuff. It'd be interesting to see if this gets Grimes versus Trey Baxter. What if he goes after Cora Jade?
Mm.
Maybe it turns him heel again. I don't know. It could be interesting. I don't know. And there's all kinds of fun stuff. We get a backstage segment between Cool Kyle and Von Wagner, where Cool Kyle basically says, hey, thanks for having my back, but I don't want you to have my back. Why do you have my back? And he goes, look, I saw an opportunity. You were getting beat down. I had an opportunity. So I took it. I'm sad. I'm sad I didn't see this one. And oh, God, it's Parrish that gets it. Grimes and Ember to the moon. Oh, the wordsmith would be excited about that wordplay, too. Oh, God, Parrish. Sometimes I love and hate you at the same time. That being said, Von Wagner says, look, I know you don't trust me. And I was like, no, after the year I've had, I can't trust Ember, anybody. So it's, yeah, I know. I saw it and I said Ember instead of anybody. Oh my God. Yeah,
Alex. What's wrong today?
Alex feeling me. He knows the pain I'm in right now. As we have Cody saying to the Ember Moon. Oh God, it's going to be Ember Moon, isn't it? Now that this is all coming, it's obvious. It's going to be Ember Moon and Cameron Grimes. Oh God, it's going to be. Sugar plums. All right, back to the show. Stop paying attention to the chat. Back to the show. God, this show falls off the rails when Cody's not here to help me out. Okay. So basically, Kyle's like, look, stop helping me. I don't need your help. I'm going to be fine without it. We then get the Ciampa in-ring segment where Braun Breaker comes out. The one thing I didn't say during this is that during the Braun Breaker promo package, I noticed something very, very interesting. I'm here just helping.
I was going to say, don't look.
The one thing I will say about Braun Breaker that I noticed this week that I didn't notice in other weeks, Braun Breaker sounds like a mix between his dad and his uncle.
Well, I hope so.
No. But I don't sound like my dad, and I don't sound like my mom, and I don't sound like anybody in my family. I didn't know that vocal traits can be inherited. But this dude, not only does he wrestle like his dad and look like his dad, but like be a beast like his uncle and talk like his uncle. I listened to 3 of them like in promos back to back to back, and they all sound alike, like various versions of each other. I'm very excited for that now.
And we got a siren on the theme song today too.
I always thought he had it, but he definitely had it this week.
It's a way to make it obvious without giving him the main, though.
Yeah. Braun's look this week was really, really good. I prefer something like this instead of the color splash tights. I agree. The color splash tights aren't necessary. He looked really like a big badass in this one. I really enjoyed it. If you walk like a Steiner, talk like a Steiner, you must be a Braun breaker. Only one N. 2 Ks, but one N. Then we got the Joe Gacy segment. And then we got a segment with Indy Hartwell and her friend Persia talking backstage about the honeymoon. And they're talking about all the wild things that happened. And Indy... So Persia makes some kind of comment about Dexter in the bedroom. And I don't know if she was supposed to be talking about inches or if she was talking about a rating. I don't know, because Twitter seemed very confused as to which way this was going. And I couldn't get a clear definition from Twitter as to which way this comment was supposed to go. But she says, is he like a 7 or an 8? And Indy says, without breaking a stride, she goes, he's a 9.5. And apparently the internet went abuzz with Dexter Lumis and his 9.5 everything. I don't know. All I know is I love Index. I don't know if I like Persia, though. I'll be honest. She doesn't fit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it feels like even though like supposed to be best friends or whatever, they don't even sound like they have chemistry with each other. They're just like they're together paired up for some reason. I'm guessing since we can't have Candace most of the time. But I thought it was funny. She said, yeah, we went through 2 packets. And I'm like, is this what's supposed to be the edgy, the new edgy stuff coming up?
I got nothing. I just... Some people on Twitter thought it was a rating. Some people on Twitter thought it was a size. I don't know what to say. I'm just happy that Indy's on TV. We then got the Joe Ikeman versus Joe Gacy match, which was fantastic. We got a really bad, kind of boring Duke Hudson promo here, where he talks about poker a lot. I don't know why he's talking about poker now. Was this part of his gimmick before, that he was a poker guy?
That was kind of weird to me. I was like, when he said something about the luck, I was like, you're not Irish, so I really don't care how you say about luck. So.
This is true. We forgot about this. There was then smoke coming out of the bottom of the drawer, and they went ahead and popped in, and it was Mei Ying and Boa, and we don't know what they were doing. And as Parrish says, let's talk about Dexter. Yeah. I got you, Parrish. You're all good on that one. Yes, let's talk about sex and Dexter. Yes. Speaking of which, new Dexter coming in apparently on the November 7th. Yes. For those who are so inclined with Dexter. I'm not a Dexter guy. I don't get the serial killer thing. God, I'm gonna do the show by myself. Oh no, that's gonna be dangerous. That'd be worse than when Zach does Powerrrout by himself. I love Zach, but Zach doing Powerrrout by himself is fantastic.
You got the guys in the comments. I think you're fine.
No, I really don't, because these guys in the comment aren't going to help me as much as the people in Zach's comments help him. Oh, Cody's trying to save us, as he took 9.5 as a size because Persia was very concerned about it. Alex trying to help us out, saying he's a Dexter Laboratory guy. Yes, I like Dexter's Laboratory. That's fantastic. Back to wrestling. Let's talk about things with wrestling. We had Virginia Ferry versus Cora Jade next. Although we didn't have Virginia Ferry because she got absolutely destroyed by Frankie Monet. And then Robert Stone says it's now Frankie Monet versus Cora Jade. And so then we went ahead and that match started. And it was okay. It wasn't long. Which is another... it's starting to become a problem now. I don't mind it, but it's starting to become a problem with these short matches. They're showcasing a lot of good talent. Yay. Lots of short matches. Like Cody said last week, starting to feel like Dark and Dark Elevation. Too many matches, not enough time. Frankie Monet gets rolled up during her finish as she's going to hit the Glam Slam. and Cora Jade gets the win. Frankie doesn't look happy. Now, again, yes, it's another loss for Frankie Monet. Yes, she lost again. This is bad. That being said, if she goes uber heel and absolutely destroys Jessie Kamea and Robert Stone, yes, that's where I'm getting to right now.
Yes, give it to me.
I think Frankie needs to break away from Robert Stone. If she turns into a mega heel by destroying the two of them for ruining her and goes on a long winning streak and starts beating actual competent wrestlers week in and week out, they can save her. She's not damaged yet. This can be a part to a story. Is that what they're doing? Are they telling the story? I don't know. Yes, that might not be a bad idea either. I know you have your own issues with him. I like the character, but they've done nothing good with him, and it's time they release him so that he can go do good somewhere else. I don't want anybody to lose their job. I want him to go and do good somewhere else because I think he's a talented dude. He's a bit of a chauvinist and he's a bit of an idiot, but I think he can do good work.
Because I'm like, I really like how they started him with Chelsea, and then all of a sudden they're just like, I don't need you anymore. I'm done. And I'm like, you barely were with him on TV before you broke up from him, only for her to go to the main roster and get released. So I was like, what was really the point of separating her from Robert? It could have been good for both of them.
Yeah. So if this continues to be a downward spiral where she turns on them, great. Otherwise, yeah. Good for Cora Jade. She got a win. I'm not sure what her gimmick is. I'm not sure what her in-ring style is. Hopefully we see more of her because she seems interesting. We have MSK backstage. They get interrupted by GYV, which then get interrupted by JBBJ and Trick Mello, which turns into all four teams brawling, but not before this match turns into from a four-way title match to a four-way elimination title match, which I then credited to Astrid because I missed the fact that they said it on TV during that segment. I saw that Astrid said it in our chat. And I'm like, look, the NXT people are in our chat. Then, promptly after saying the NXT people are in our chat, I asked the NXT gods to give us a guest for next week from NXT. So hopefully we'll either have a guest from NXT or we might have a guest from Force Wrestling, Love Wrestling, Change the Game. Change the Game, as Zach said earlier, will be happening October 15th from Edmonton, Alberta. You can find it at the Rec Room. It'll be at 7 p.m. bell time. There's tickets still available, I believe. I'm not sure. More importantly, if you want, you can watch it here for free at twitch.tv/Love Wrestling. However, if you subscribe, you'll be able to chat. I know I'll be there chatting. I think there'll be a bunch of us from Love Wrestling that are in there in the chat. So go ahead, subscribe to us at Love Wrestling, and be able to chat because this is going to be a fun show. Cody coming in saying, I would gladly take a bromance. I would love that. I think Jesse Goddard is fun. Jesse from the Big Brother, if people aren't familiar with them, did become a professional wrestler. The bromans were a great gimmick in Impact. It was the best thing that Robert Stone has ever done. Parrish apparently still not a fan. Tells Cody to shut up. We love our chat. Nobody has to shut up. Everybody's doing fine. That being said, we then had the promo with Ciampa backstage where Gacy came in, and that's where we get the triple threat possibility. We had Dunn versus Grimes. This match was really fun. Again, just two guys just going at it and having a great match. It got more time than a lot of things on the card, which was nice. Holland tries to interfere but gets attacked by Kyle O'Reilly, who then gets taken out by Pete Dunne, who then gets taken out by Cameron Grimes, who throws him back in the ring, who tries to hit a cave-in, which Dunne has scouted, and throws him into the top rope, hits a bitter end, and gets the win. I love Pete Dunne. I'm glad he didn't get drafted. I'm sad to see Ridge Holland go, but
Don't look, keep going.
So Dunn gets the win. Ridge Holland and Dunn come in. They beat down Cameron Grimes a little bit. Kyle O'Reilly tries to come in. They beat down him too. I'm just gonna keep going. They beat them both down. It was a fun match. I really enjoyed it. What did you think?
Yeah, I really liked it. To me, having Cameron again, I missed him. I didn't realize how much I missed him until I saw him wrestle, and then the crowd with their chants. That was another interesting thing.
Yeah.
To the moon chants from the beginning of the match, which I loved. That's probably the best one so far.
Yeah. I really like this story with Kyle O'Reilly and Pete Dunne. I want it to end soon though. Just because I want Pete Dunne doing something else. I would love this to. In the commercial break, we see Von Wagner come down and help Kyle O'Reilly to the back. We later on find out that it's going to be Von Wagner and Kyle O'Reilly versus Dunne and Holland next week in their last match. We're going to continue. But so that'll be fun to see that tag team match next week. I want to see Von Wagner turn now. I almost called him Von Miller. I want to see Von Wagner turn heel. I really do.
I thought he was going to. It was so close to me. I'm like, is it going to happen now? Maybe now? And I kept waiting for nothing. But I guess probably after the match.
Maybe after next week's match.
Mm-hmm.
We then got the Tony D'Angelo versus Malik Blade match. This crowd loved Tony D'Angelo. I apparently was way off on how this gimmick was going to get over. I didn't think it was anything at all whatsoever the first time I saw it. I've progressively been more interested to see what he did in the ring. We saw him in the ring. He was great. But the one thing I have to say about this match, the crowd loved this dude. He also has a really cool finish. It's like a rolling suplex, like a Falcon Arrow style, like end to a rolling suplex into like whatever Elias's finisher was called. That like drift away thing where he slipped. Like, it's a great little combo.
It was interesting.
What is your thoughts on this match real quick as we get ready to continue on?
Yeah, Mike, it was a good way to showcase Tony, and I like how the crowd was behind him from the beginning. I guess I missed something, but sure.
This crowd loves him. I don't know if he paid them all. I mean, that would be with his gimmick if he did.
Yeah.
We have Cody telling us it is a fisherman-like suplex torn into a torn of a fisherman buster suplex with a roll into the pin.
Into a form of fisherman.
Oh, form, yes. Yeah, form. It's Parrish. Cage Match said it was a flying knee bar. Parrish is on point today. Parrish is great. We love Parrish. We love Cody. Can't wait for next week when we have Cody back so that I can try to concentrate on the show. We then had Indy versus Mei Ying. This was the most pointless thing on this entire show. Without Xia Li, her and Boa have been absolutely pointless. And
don't look.
So Indy gets the win after Persia took a big boot from Mei Ying, and then Indy throws her back in the ring and hits a diving elbow to the back. I mean, sure, I guess it's a finisher. Okay. It looks cool because Indy's big and, you know, like she's tall, so it looks great because it's a springboard like from the ground up to the top rope thing. That being said, it's very interesting. What did you think of Indy in this match, or Mei Ying in this match, and going forward with Tian Sha?
Yeah, to me, Mei Ying without Xia Li does not have any point. So how are they gonna end this? I have no idea. I'm like, it's not interesting anymore. I liked it when it was Xia Li like getting like that with Mei Ying from the top of the ramp. But aside from that, I'm just like, And I'm like, maybe I was hoping we would get some kind of closure between Xia Li and Mei Ying before she left. Maybe we'll get something like that, but it doesn't seem like it. But yeah, there's no point to it anymore. So I'm just like, please.
And they had her lose. Like, okay, Mei Ying has some mystique if she don't lose, but once she loses the mystique. The whole gimmick kind of falls apart. I mean, I'm okay with it dropping it and then her coming back as somebody else.
Oh, her real self?
Yeah, because she's talented in the ring. She's fine in the ring. Her matches are cool. Like, it wasn't a bad match. It was just the worst thing on a relatively good show. Again, this show was fun. This whole show was fun, and this just didn't feel fun. We then get the Lashing Out segment where we find out that we're going to get Lashing Out Part 2 one more time. So I'm excited to see Wendy Williams 2.0 to give the 2.0 to everything. And then we got the inside of Diamond Mine. This was my favorite thing on the entire show. Like, I love the tag team match, and I wanted to spotlight that because it needed to be spotlit. That being said, my favorite thing on this entire show was this Diamond Mine promo with Malcolm Bivens, where he talks about everybody go one by one. He puts over Hachiman, the man who he was before. Absolutely fantastic. He puts over Ivy Nile, the first Titan Games winner for females, putting her over as a fitness competition winner, all the fun things she can do. He says that she asked him permission to punch all the other women in the face. But with that jumping Superman punch that she does, I'm excited to see it. He then puts over the Creeds, who he says are his favorite people. Don't tell anybody else in Diamond Mine.
But the group
Creeds,
is behind him.
Yeah, which I thought was funny. But again, that's total Malcolm Bivens. Malcolm Bivens is fantastic. If you haven't seen his goodbye to Xia Li on Twitter, go search him out. Machiavelli on Twitter. It is fantastic. He talks about how just go watch it. I'm not even going to spoil it. Just go watch it. He then talks about how Roddy Strong is the diamond in Diamond Mine. He's the key to everything. And then there's Malcolm Bivens himself. It's fantastic. What did you think?
I like how he talks about the Creed brothers. So he says they're the embodiment of the ruthless aggression. I'm like, yeah, but I like how everybody. Yeah, and I like how everybody got highlighted because I'm like, this is what I wanted before their debut, so I could know who they were and each person, especially Hashima, because we had him. I'm like, I had him, then I haven't heard him say his name, or maybe I missed it. But I'm like, finally, I feel like I know his name. I know who he is a little bit. So I feel like I would have liked this a little bit beforehand, but it was nice to see it though.
We have people going back and forth in the chat, but I'm going to highlight this one because it's fun. Cage match said Chris Parrish would win the Love Wrestling Championship and change the game. We also have Cody coming in with an actual point about the show. Tien Shaw needs to end. Mei Ying had her mystique ended with a loss. There's nowhere else to go with them as a team, especially when the team no longer includes Xia Li. If Xia Li was there, even if Mei Ying had lost, it still would have had a point. With Boa there, there's nothing. Poor Boa. I love the guy, but he's awful. That being said, we then had Raquel in the ring talking trash about Toxic Attraction. Toxic Attraction came out. Mandy owns the what chant. All the girls get a say in there. The crowd really screws up this promo, but the girls cut great promos talking about how they're going to win titles. Zoe and Io come out to help before the 3-on-1 beatdown goes down. Backstage, Raquel doesn't like Io and Zoe saving her. Then Indy and Persia step up. And then we get the rundown for next week, which is going to be Tommaso Ciampa versus Joe Gacy. If Joe Gacy wins, he's in the title match at Halloween Havoc. Swerve versus Escobar for the North American title. Dunn and Ridge versus Kyle O'Reilly and Von Wagner. It's going to be a fun show next week. We'll have Cody back. We may have a fourth surprise guest next week. Hopefully, if we can get somebody, we've had a little bit of talks. Hopefully, something can come of it where we can have a friend. Mei Ying was the winner. Xia Li lost and was taken off TV. Boa. So Mei Ying started wrestling to show up, and now she's lost too. What else is there to tell? Because Xia Li's involvement in this angle got her to the SmackDown roster. Xia Li hasn't lost anything because she's moving up to SmackDown and she's getting a chance to on that show with that roster. She's got a very good chance of being spotlit very well. That women's division on SmackDown is fantastic. That whole SmackDown show is fantastic right now. They so won that draft. Just like they did in Wrestle Draft. Just saying.
No.
Yeah, Xia lost to Raquel, and that's the last we saw of her, though. I agree. But I'm just saying, from where Xia Li was before Tien Shaw to where Xia Li is now is light years different, and it's all thanks to Tien Shaw and Mei Ying. This whole thing is a success because it got Xia Li to where she is. It wasn't about, it didn't get over the way that it was supposed to, nor did it get over the way that it should. And there could be a million reasons for that. That being said, Xia Li got over, and that's the important thing we need to take from it. Yes, I know, I understand with the Tien Shaw story and Mei Ying. I get that. I just wanted to say that, it can't be stated enough that how important this is for Xia Li. She's the first female Chinese wrestler on the main roster ever. She's getting a chance to be on a brand that takes wrestling seriously and takes that show seriously. With a women's division that's pretty well stacked when you think about the fact that it's got Shayna Baszler and Sasha Banks at the top, not to mention the Queen Charlotte Flair. Those are 3 big names, and Xylee's on that roster. It's going to be a good thing. Yes, I did say that I would watch your Raw. I watch regular Raw. So saying I'd watch Raw isn't necessarily a good thing. Lots of great women's... Yeah. I think that those titles are becoming defunct real fast.
Unfortunately.
I think so. But that's all we have for tonight with NXT. It was a fun show. It was a fast show. There wasn't a ton to talk about with it, but there was a lot of good stuff. Everything was fun. I feel like Spencer now. Fun's my new neat. Sorry, Spencer. Yes, Parrish, I want to see your Raw, but my SmackDown is better.
What show are we in again?
NXT.
Okay, good. Let's keep going.
Yeah. Speaking of NXT, Astrid, go. You've got a big week, so we're going to give you a lot of extra time. So,
Oh no, there we go.
No. We're not talking about what we want to. Oh God, we got to run in. We've got to run in. I'll add you. It's fine. I mean, I'm not going to not add you. Put yourself back in.
No, maybe.
All right, he's not. I'm going to plug my stuff because you got a lot of stuff to plug this weekend, and I want you to get into it. So first we're going to plug me. So you can find me. I'm going to pull this banner down. Hold on. I got to find the right thing. I'm going to take that off for a second. You can find me at edfries12584 on Twitter. You can find me moderating the Tom Collihue Twitch channel at Tom Collihue, twitch.tv/Tom Collihue. And you can find me on Saturday for Saturday Reacts with somebody. I know a bunch of my people are not available this week, but I will find somebody or I will talk about the draft for 2 hours by myself. I don't know. Something will happen Saturday. Be here to find out how drastically that show can go off the rails. My Twitch, so I can... Oh, okay, that's why. I got you now, Parrish. Cool. Cool, it's going to be me and Cody. We're going to talk about NJPW and the draft. Because those are 2 things that me and Cody can actually talk about. So that'll be fun. This show is all over. See, Cody, this is what happens when you give me the new format.
No.
And then you leave for a week.
The host is all over the place. That's what it is.
Well, yes. No. The NJPW reacts to the people who actually watch the shows are on Friday night. But you're going to get Ed reacting to reading results on Saturday afternoon, talking about the very little he knows about NJPW and the greatest tournament in wrestling, which is the G1 Climax. Now, we're going to plug Astrid, because Astrid has a lot of fun things coming up that I can't wait to see. Astrid.
Oh, a lot of fun and nerve-wracking things, too.
Nothing nerve-wracking.
Yeah. Okay, so first, when I'm out here, I'm on Twitter. My Twitter is Astrid Pizarro, just like my name is there. For this week, Friday, I have my premiere of Astrid Asks, which is going to be with Kayla, who's going to be going against Nicole Matthews at Change the Game. So I'm really excited about it. Nervous about it, too. It's my first interview with a wrestler. I've done interviews before, but it's the first time with a wrestler and recorded like this, too. So it's pretty fun to chat with Kayla for a little bit. Aside from that, Sunday night, I have a few guests coming with me to react to the Knockout Snackdown pay-per-view from TNA or Impact. So if you watch a pay-per-view or if you want to talk about women's wrestling, come with us and enjoy the show with us. We're going to be enjoying it and reacting to everything we see. But I'm not going to say who the special guests are because I'm just going to wait for the show and make sure that everybody comes in to watch a special guest too. So that's what I got going on this week. Nerve-wracking, but I'll make it.
Yes, you will. It's a big week for you. I'm very excited. Not to mention, we had the SmackDown watch along last week, and it was well received. We had a great raid by Speedball Mike Bailey, so we want to thank him again. As part of the NXT team, we want to thank him for that raid because it was mostly the NXT team that was on that show. Parrish is apparently here.
No.
Parrish just he just wanted to see the comments because his Twitch broke. That being said, we're going to call it a night here. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This has been an interesting version of NXT. Hopefully, we'll be back to our normal, not crazy selves next week as we talk about all the fun things coming into the final show before the draft takes place, where we have to say goodbye to, and we'll say it one more time, Hit Row, as we get ready to say goodbye to all of our friends who are going to SmackDown and Raw. That being said, have a great week. See you soon.